Well, welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. I'm Jim, joined by Halil and EJ. Halil, greetings from Austria. It's good to see you again.
Good to see both of you. EJ this time being on as well. Grinding
Yeah.
through the nights here. Like I already said, draft season all kind of flows together. Who needs sleep at this time? But I'm excited to be back on.
And EJ, it's good to see that you are healthy and whatever was going on last week is in the past. So
yes.
out.
I wouldn't wish food poisoning on my worst enemy. It is the worst. I had some bad pizza. And it did not agree with me, and that put me down for a little while. But I'm back. 10 pounds lighter, and I'm back ready to go.
Cool.
Draft shape.
Yeah, so we are going to start talking about some day 3 sleepers in the draft right now.
Mm-hmm.
Halil, who is a sleeper that you want to begin the discussion with?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to go by position. I had one down for every position, so I'm just going to start with running back. And the first name given me is Marcus Yarns from Delaware. Really fun back to watch, not only because compared to the FCS competition that he faced, it was just the movement skills that kind of transcend that level. Had a really strong Senior Bowl week, that ability to set up linebackers in space, stair-step them, being able to give them different looks, but also just blow by them, tracks the ball naturally down the field. And then in the running game, gliding runner, light feet, suddenness to alter his tracks. And then, so he makes a lot of sense for a wide zone system, that ability to really press the front side, stress the defense horizontally, and then transition one step fluidly down the field. And then when he's one-on-one with safety in the hole, he has that ability to make them look stupid, put some move on them, and then has that 4-4 or sub-4 speeds to really finish those long runs in the end zone.
Cool. EJ, you have a running back that you'd like to mention as a sleeper?
Yeah, I discussed him on the running backs episode. Kalel Mullings out of Michigan. He's a 6'1", 226 pounds. He wasn't able to work out at the Combine or Pro Day. I think he had a wrist injury. But when you look at the film of this guy, he's a bigger running back. He has some fluidity and he has some burst to it. He has the speed for the chunk play. He may not take it to the house, but he can get you 15 to 20 yards if it's all blocked up for him. He's a guy that he'll run you over as well. He has some strength in his running ability, and he knows how to use it. This is a former linebacker. He's new to the running back position. He's a former linebacker. So he's still getting the nuances of the running back position down. He doesn't have any he has very little receiving production. I think he only had like 6 catches this past season. But and also in the receiving game, he's a very good pass protector. So I look at it as he's a lump of clay for a coach to mold. The talent is there. You get him on a team right out of the draft. Immediately, he helps you on special teams because that's what he's been doing. Mainly his whole career, he's been playing on special teams. So immediately, you have a special teams contributor, and then if you need that big bruiser, that hammer in the running game in your running back room, he can be that as a developmental prospect going forward.
Yeah, I like Mullings. Like Mullings is the kind of player that's going to have an 8 to 10 year NFL career.
Yep, he may bounce between like 3 or 4 teams, but he's going to have a specific role.
Yep. So I've got a sleeper running back, and he may not even get drafted. But that's Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons he may not be drafted is he didn't play last year. There were some issues with eligibility, and they thought that he was playing even though somebody was wearing his uniform number, so he lost a year of eligibility. But if you look at the tape, that's a really good running back, and whoever gets him is a UDFA or late in the draft. You may not see much from him in 2025, but he's going to be in your running back room. And once the coaches know that they can rely on him, his second season, he will likely have a much more prominent role with your team, right? Because you don't ever rely on a UDFA to do anything, right? He'll be able to make the team, but he might be a special teams player until you realize we have a really good running back, a sleeper in the room. So Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So EJ, do you have a sleeper at a different position that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I do. And one real quick on Krosky-Merritt, the NCAA, they screwed him because he took a red shirt. He took a red shirt. And once you take a red shirt, you gave up his jersey. They gave his jersey to another player, and the other player played. And the NCAA said, oh, wait, we see this number, and he's putting up stats, so you don't have any more eligibility. They didn't even take the time to watch the film to see if it was actually him playing, and so they screwed him out of his eligibility. That's ridiculous. But I digress.
Wait, can I throw in something there as well?
Yeah.
The cool part for him is during Shrine Bowl week, you saw it early in the week. He was rusty because he obviously hadn't played in the season. And then at the end of the week, he wins offensive MVP for the game. So just in a short span of time, he's able to make an impact and show that he can quickly progress. So hopefully that leaves a sweet taste in the mouth of evaluators that they saw that last of him.
Exactly. Yeah. But I guess I will stay on the offensive side. Tight end. I got the tight end that I actually one honorable mention, but the guy I really think is a sleeper is out of South Carolina, Joshua Simon, 6'4", 239. This is a guy that he had a specific role in South Carolina. I think he had 87% of his receiving production came within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So they was throwing him a bunch of short stuff. But it allowed him to show he has a little bit of run after the catch ability. He has some straight line speed to attack the seams. He's a willing blocker. He needs to get a little bit stronger and a little bit more refined technique wise as a blocker. But this is a guy that has the athletic ability. He ran a 4.6 at the combine. So he has some speed, but he has the ability to work his way into being your tight end too. And best case scenario, he's your tight end 1, but he can walk right into your tight end room. He can play on special teams. He can be your tight end 3. He can be that movement receiving tight end. If a team doesn't have that, he can be that right off the bat.
Awesome. Halil, do you have a tight end that you want to mention?
Yeah, I have one that I only finished my tight ends a couple of days ago when I was putting out my rankings. And a guy that was close to doing a write-up on, but he was kind of just outside the top 10, is Thomas Fidone out of Nebraska. I'll come right off the bat, measured in a little smaller than what he played at, probably 6'4", 245 pounds at the combine. And the thing with him is a couple of ACL injuries early in his college career. Like I already said, dropped some weight for the combine, but you see it in the run game already, getting kind of jolted back and compact at times, and also lacks some play strength when it comes to avoid getting bumped off track during his routes and kind of getting caught by defenders down the field because you don't have the illegal contact in college necessarily. So kind of defenders were aggressive, just stick to him. That ability to kind of catch him down the field, you saw that. But you did see his inline rate kind of rise last season and showed improvement as a run blocker. Does identify the biggest threat and alters assignment post snaps and keeps turning his legs to drive the pile forwards. In the receiving game, able to release cleanly off the line, showcases impressive detail in his routes at 40 times, plenty of wiggle to avoid ancillary zone defenders, and he can really sit in the chair and make those crisp 90-degree breaks, consistently plucks the ball out of the air with those big 10.5-inch hands and 34-inch arms, so he has that expanded catch radius. And then with the ball in his hands, I thought runs the ball with great balance, awareness, for nearby defenders and how to shake them, and an active offense to really work stiff arms and work and swipe by people coming in pursuits. I just thought it was a really interesting, kind of unique prospect who's able to kind of transform his body potentially at the next level. Again, best profiles probably as an H-back.
Yeah, so Fidone was going to be one of mine, so I can't use it.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. Like that's what we're doing here. So I'm going to mention a couple of day 3 tight ends. I don't know that they're sleepers because they might be just at the fringe of your top 10, But two guys, Caden Prescorn from Ole Miss and Jake Brittingstool from Clemson. Similar to how EJ described, these are guys that when you draft them, they're going to give you a tight end too, right? So whether these guys ever become a starting tight end, okay, there's a lot of circumstance that would be involved there. But I think Prescorn and Brittingstool are, again, these are guys that are probably going to have an 8 to 10 year NFL career. They can be a tight end too. They might be a low tight end one. Like they're the tight end one and your team is always clamoring, go get another tight end. But like as a Bills fan, like we have Dawson Knox. And Dawson Knox isn't going to win any All-Pros. He's not going to be an All-Pro tight end. He may not be a top 10 NFL tight end, but what he is a starting tight end. Right? So like when I look at Prescorn and I look at Brittingstool, I see, they're a poor man's Dawson Knox. And I would take that on my team with one of the 3 tight end spots that I have. And hey, Joe, so not like that was a heck of a call out. But another couple things about tight ends. So tight ends develop slowly. So don't expect a tight end to set the world on fire as a rookie, even if they're Tyler Warren, right? And then another like sneaky thing about tight ends, like specifically with Dawson Knox, this past season was the first time that Dawson Knox didn't score the first Buffalo Bills playoff touchdown. Like that was like the inside joke. Who's scoring the first touchdown in Buffalo's playoff game? And we're all just saying Dawson Knox because that was what happened the previous 7 playoff appearances.
7 straight. That's quite a streak.
So that was just like a crazy stat. But Halil, do you want to flip positions and talk about a different sleeper?
I can go. I can stay on offense with a wide receiver. I can go defense. It's all preference? Well, I'm just gonna stick with offense because I'm right there. Wide receiver. I would have a couple of months ago where we talked about Kyle Williams coming out of the Senior Bowl, but there's a pretty well-known personality in the internet who had him as his number 2 receiver in the whole class. And since then he's been blowing up. Yeah, that was Chris Sims. So he's been blown up since then, and he doesn't qualify here anymore. But the guy I want to talk about, Jalen Lane from Virginia Tech, finished top 3, literally. So he's 5'9", 190 pounds. I think he's a 50th senior. Finished top 3 in literally every single combat event. So 4.34 in the 40, 40-inch vertical, 11-foot broad jump, great agility drills. And you see that on the field, those quick feet and the slipperiness to elude jams at the line of scrimmage and put defenders in trail position, eats up the cushion to safeties when they're capped over the slot in a hurry, and it kind of can change his pace and be sudden, which makes him a tough cover. Consistent friend of his quarterback, how he flattens out of his breaks, has the soft hands where he never dropped more than 3 passes in the season, and really runs for the catch with 0 delay, turning up the field. And then with the ball in his hands, has the start-stop ability, the ability to change directions, navigate around defenders. You saw him feature quite a bit as a gadget player, end around, speed sweeps, reverses, where he has the burst and the patience to allow blockers to develop out in the perimeter. Never really played on the ball, and so was able to operate out of the slot and never had to really defeat press coverage. And there's definitely room for more efficiency in his routes, where you see some choppy steps. And this is just not somebody who's going to box out defenders down the field. But I like him as a potential end of day 2, very early day 3 selection that can add some juice to receiving core.
Nice. EJ, do you have a wide receiver?
Yeah. Shamir DK out of Florida, 6 foot, 196. I think he ran a 4.3 at the combine. This is a guy with a track background coming out of high school. I think he did 100 meters. I think he did hurdles or a long jump, one of those. But he's an athlete. If he had, when he started out at I think Wisconsin, then transferred over to Florida, if he had went to a school like Ohio State for 4 years, he'd be a first round pick because he has the athletic traits, but he doesn't have the polish that goes along with it. He doesn't have the nuance that goes along with it. So that's going to take some time. But if you draft him, say he's going to go on day 3, but immediately he's probably your best kick returner. kick and punt returner, because that's what he can do, and he can give you some production out of the slot as well. That's where most of his production came from at Florida. He came out of the slot. He has the quickness. He has the short area quickness at the top of his stems to create separation. He has the long speed and the explosiveness to create separation vertically. It's just that he needs the polish, the nuance. He needs the ability to be able to play all three wide receiver positions on any given rep. He needs time. He needs time, and he needs coaching. So this is a guy that you immediately get value from on special teams for maybe like year 1, year 2, but he's a guy that has the potential to develop into your wide receiver 2 and to really help your offense.
And what was that gentleman's name?
Chimere Dike.
Spell the last name.
Dike.
Dike.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, so
yeah,
so I was thinking some notes there. I wanted to make sure that I had them written down.
Yeah.
So I was going to start plucking some different players out, but I think I don't think Pat Bryant's a sleeper anymore.
Yeah.
And Savion Williams isn't a sleeper either. Even though I think both of them go on day 3, I shouldn't say that. I actually think that Bryant's probably going to go at the back end of round 3. I'm going to go with Samuel Brown from Miami. This is somebody that has some juice to him. And obviously he was playing opposite Restrepo. So they're, from a wide receiver standpoint, always look at the other guy, right? So you have Luther Burden, who's the other guy. That other guy's good. Theo Wees, he might get drafted, right?
Yeah.
So same thing, Samuel Brown, Xavier Restrepo, Brown is the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just look at him sometime on day 3. I think, again, it's a project. He's going to need coaching, similar to what EJ said. But Samuel Brown is definitely a day 3 wide receiver I have my eye on. EJ, is there another position you want to talk about sleepers?
Yeah, I'll finish off the offensive side. Got offensive tackle. Got Jalen Travis out of Iowa State. He's a 6'8", 340. So he's a big boy. He played left tackle. He played 4 years at Princeton. Then he transferred over to Iowa State. Played left tackle at Iowa State this past year. And when you look at him on film, he's not the he doesn't have, you can see why he's a sleeper. He doesn't have the quickest feet in the world. I think he has enough foot quickness and balance to stay at tackle. But the real plus side to him is his play strength. He really just throws guys around. And once he puts his hands on you, you're not moving, and you're just going to go where he wants you to go. That's when you see that in the run game, when they're running zone, he's just washing guys down the line of scrimmage. That's the plus side to him. What they need to do is get his feet right. He didn't do, from what I saw, he didn't do a lot of vertical sets on in his passing sets where he, like, you kick step outside and you matched the defensive end on the outside. Pretty much you're like on an island. They did a lot of jump sets and RPO stuff where he's jumping the defensive end. He's making the first move. He creating the first contact. That's where he excels at. That's where he looks good at. We need to get him up to speed to where he looks good going backwards in his pass sets, to how to deliver his punch and all that. He has a sufficient arm strength. It's just that he needs time to develop into his real pass sets, and he needs I would say maybe drop a little bit of weight. I mean, 340 is fine for that size, but you want to get him a little bit quicker. You don't want him to have slow and heavy feet. But he is a very strong player. He'll start off as a backup, but he has starter potential.
Cool. Halil, do you have a sleeper offensive lineman?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go to the interior so we can actually make time and get through all the positions. I'm going to talk about Will Lampkin here, one of my favorite dudes to watch in the entire draft. So he's an interior guy, played left guard, I believe, primarily for North Carolina. at 5'11", 275 pounds. So we can already see kind of a unique size profile, built like a fire hydrant. And there's going to be some preconceived notions with that type of unique size profile. But he does have adequate arm length for 32-inch arms. And he really understands how to maximize those quick out of his stance and has the shorter path to really transfer power from the ground up, allowing him to dig out interior defenders in the run game. Naturally, he's going to win the pad level most of the time and has those heavy hands on first contact, along with incredible strength sustained blocks deep into the play clock. I think he's agile enough to excel in outside zone-based system, but did plenty of pulling as well at North Carolina. And in pass protection, this guy's just a leverage monster, being able to get underneath guys and neutralize them. You saw during Senior Bowl week with someone like Dion Walker from Kentucky, who has some pad level issues as it is, and you have this guy just getting underneath him who's 60, 70 pounds lighter, but being able to neutralize him on the bull rush. Yeah, tremendous awareness for all kinds of different games up front as well. And when he gets those clamps on you, it's pretty much over. So he's going to have some issues where guys are going to be able to over him and just outreach him at the next level. But I think he has the kind of football savvy and kind of play strength that he can overcome those.
Okay. I'm going to offer a couple of sleepers on the interior offensive line as well. So first of all, EJ took mine. I was going to go Jalen Travis. So I'm getting sniped with my sleepers, but I'm okay with that. I'm going to go with two players in let's say a down center class. So if your team needs a center this year, I'm sorry. But I want to talk about two guys. One is Weston Franklin from Georgia Tech, and one is Seth McLaughlin from Ohio State. So if your team needs a center this year and you draft McLaughlin, there's a good chance that McLaughlin needs to sit out a year, right? Because he is injured right now. But the scouting reports that came back on McLaughlin were actually positive until the injury. So depending upon where your team's center depth chart is, if you can wait a year, McLaughlin might be a good answer. And you'll be able to likely get him late day 3. He may not even get drafted at all, just from an injury standpoint. So, and that was Seth McLaughlin from Ohio State. And then Weston Franklin from Georgia Tech, again, another center. So Franklin, when we were doing scouting reports on him, there were a couple of people that thought that he might be one of the top 2 centers of the class. I don't think it shook out that way. I haven't heard of too many people saying Weston Franklin is center 2. But I think there's a lot of people that says, "Oh, I'll move Bo to center. I'll move Will Campbell to center." Everybody's trying to move somebody to center.
Well, they're justified in doing so, I have to say. Not necessarily, it's not really a thing on these guys, but there's a bunch of tackles that I think will be doing much better with their skill sets on the interior.
Yeah. So those are a couple names that I want to shout out. EJ, you want to flip it over to defense and start talking about some defensive sleepers?
Yeah. I'll jump over to defensive tackle, and I'll go with Arkansas defensive tackle Eric Gregory. He is let's see, I think he's about 6'3", 300. Oh, let me make sure I got it right. I don't want to make up stuff. So basically, but he's a guy. He's another guy. Specific role. He's very athletic, but he's not much of a pass rusher. So what you want to do with him is his role is best at when he played at Arkansas, he was best as a run stuffer. That was his strength. 6'3", 319 is his size, but his strength is already NFL level, in my opinion. They lined him up as a 0 tech, head up on the center. They lined him up as a 3 tech, but his main job was to stop the run, and that's always going to translate into the NFL because the NFL needs run stuffers. The pass rushers are going to go high in the draft, but you still need people to fill out a roster. You still need your run stuffers. You still need your guys that's going to do the dirty work. That's where Eric Gregory comes in at. He has upside to be a pass rusher because when you have that type of strength, and that type of athleticism, you can function. You should be able to function as a pass rusher. But immediately, I think he can jump into your defensive tackle rotation, and he can be your run stuffer on first and second down. I would like him. He can play in your odd fronts as your zero tech, and he can just whoop the center and take on double teams because he has that type of strength and ability. Or if you want to put him in your base in a base nickel package with 4 defensive linemen, he's gonna push the pocket. He may be the second guy that gets to the quarterback or get the cleanup sacks, but he has movement ability, he has strength. He's just not that. He just doesn't have the wow plays. But he's a very solid player. I mean, he's probably going to go day 3 just because this defensive tackle class is extremely loaded. But I think he is a rotation player. He's gonna play snaps year 1, and he'll be productive for you.
And Halil, do you have an offensive lineman, or excuse me, a defensive lineman that's a sleeper?
Yeah, I think in general the defensive line class is insanely loaded. It's really between edge and interior D line, the top 2 classes for me personally. And I'm going to go with a bit of a deep cut here as well with the interior D line with Cam Horsley from Boston College, 6'3", 310 pounds, a redshirt senior. Just someone who's constantly first off the ball and under the pads of offensive linemen, works with that wide, strong base to anchor in the run game against doubles at times, can lock out with those 33-inch arms. So he isn't necessarily tremendously tall, but he has that length to own his space in the gap control role. And he has improved his run defense grade from PFF every single year at BC. So much more skilled now with shedding the blocks and eating up the runner. Has a great get-off and leverage as well in the passing game, where he can create the initial momentum to create vertical displacement into the pocket, walloping club and rip I've wrote down to go for one shoulder of offensive lineman when he's lined up in a shape technique. Offers tremendous leg drive to really work through contact and condense the pocket. And then he's regularly the one who puts one hand up and as he closes in on the quarterback and kind of discourages him from trying to fit the ball over his head. I think he needs to do a better job of maximizing that arm length in a 2-gapping role, which he was asked to play a little bit, but then as a penetrator as well, kind of lacks a certain control and balance to gather and redirect as he shoots too far up the field. And then you do see the bull rush kind of die out at him at times when he has to become as well a little bit quicker, transition to a different approach, kind of has a bit of a conditioning issue maybe, but that is also due to all the dirty work that he's asked to do inside, dealing with those double teams where he has to come off the field at times. But I was very positive surprised kind of when he watching Donovan Isaraku on the edge there. And he kind of popped a few times, and I also knew him from the Shrine Bowl, had a great week there. And then I went back to the tape, and I was just thinking, as a 2-down player for now, who has some pass rush upside, that he can get in day 3, I like him a lot better than some other names that have been brought up regularly.
Yeah, so I think for my defensive line, like I'm looking at like 2 guys. So the 2 guys I'm looking at are Tonka Hemingway and Thor Griffith. So Thor Griffith from Louisville, he played at Harvard, graduated from Harvard, and then transferred to Louisville. So we have a defensive lineman in this draft that is graduated from Harvard, everybody. Right? So
his name is Thor.
I don't think we're going to confuse Thor Griffith with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't think that's happening. So Thor Griffith did really well against Ivy League competition. When he went to Louisville, he may have struggled a little bit with the higher level of competition, but there's definitely an athlete in there. And this is I would just say it's going to take time. So if you're looking for instant impact from defensive line, draft them on day 1 or 2. You have spot on your roster for a project, Thor Griffith, sometime on day 3. And then Tonka Hemingway from South Carolina, there's a little bit of pass rush juice there. So you're probably not bringing Hemingway in to be a run stuffer. But from a 3 tech and you want to get some pass rush from the position, there is likely something there that can be unlocked. And that's definitely worth a swing. Again, if you have a rotation in your defensive line room and you just need a 3rd down pass rusher at defensive line, Tonka Hemingway from South Carolina on day 3. Halil, where are we going to go? What's the next position we're going to do sleeper at?
Yeah, I'm going to look on the edge, and I'm going to talk about David Walker from Central Arkansas. Someone 6'1", 260 pounds, senior, has that compact build, like I said already, a bit shorter, but with a powerful lower body and really plays low. You see him absolutely rock tight ends back into in the run game and kind of use them as projectiles at times when they're asked to seal them on the backside, just throwing them into the action. You see him shuffle inside and really bring, when the tackle steps down, brings plenty of oomph into contact when he has to take on somebody working across the formation for him. And you see that lack of height, or rather the ability to play low as well as a pass rusher, where he just presents very little surface area for pass protectors to get their hands on him, attacks half the man and is able to swivel his hips around in impressive fashion. Offers a pretty diverse array of maneuvers with the chop rip. You see a ghost move, cross-face jabs, being able to stutter and bolden off that when offensive linemen kind of freeze their feet against him. And he just knows how to finish and get to the quarterback. So while he absolutely dominated the FCS, I thought he's going to have some issues where he's facing longer and stronger tackles out there, where those 32-inch arms, that will kind of show up as more of an issue in the pros. And he was definitely given the green light by his coaches, where he didn't always have to take great care of his contain responsibility, didn't have to worry too much about that. And I'd say for NFL standards, most of an average athlete without the kind of special burst. But he can just win in so many ways. And I believe some NFL tackles will really have some trouble because it's just so different to the guys that they face on a weekly basis usually. So I really like what he presents there.
Hey, EJ, do you have an edge?
Yeah, I do. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins out of Georgia. He's a guy 6'5", 276 pounds. He went to the combine and he worked out with the defensive tackles, and amongst all the defensive linemen, he has some of the best numbers. There are explosive traits there. He's an athlete. I think he would survive best on the edge. Not necessarily your stand-up edge rusher, but you put him in a base 4-3 defense and let him rush off the edge. I think he has the strength. I think he has this looseness in his lower half to where he can change direction changes direction very well for a person his size. So I think he has the play strength. I think he has some of the bend to be able to be a legit hand in the dirt 4-3 defensive end. As they had him at Georgia, had him playing like some of the 4-eye. They had him playing some 3 technique, mainly inside, and he has the strength to do that. So he can be a guy to where on first and second down, he's on the edge and he's setting the edge, playing against the run, and you kick him inside on third down. He can be that type of guy, but I really think he can play on the edge, and he has the play strength to do it. But you just need he needs a pass rush plan, and he needs the actual pass rush moves. He's a guy that you draft him, you get a run defender baseline. You get a run defender, put him at a 3 technique or put him at the edge. He's gonna play against the run. He's gonna be able to hold his blocks and hold the point of attack. He'll be able to do that, no problem. If you want him to be a pass rusher, it's going to take a season or 2. It's going to take coaching from your defensive line coach. If he gets the hand usage down, you got a high-end player. You got a high-end player that can play the run and get after the passer because the athletic traits are already there.
I think he's going to go a lot earlier than most people anticipate. I could see him sneaking into day 2.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when we say this, right? Because I think Dane Brugler's top 100 was it 19 edges in it?
Sheesh.
Did I have that right?
I have it open still because I was kind of going through it today.
Yeah. So if we're talking about like one of these edges sneaking in when there was already, people are projecting between 15 and 20 edges to go in the first 102 picks.
Wow. I wouldn't be
right. So I think like we're sitting here and like we could be right if somebody's drafted in round 4. Right? If we can say like Jack Sawyer, is he a sleeper if he's drafted in round 4?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I'm not going to be that lame But realistically, like the episode was day 3 sleepers. And we can sit here and say, okay, what edge is going to fall to the top of round 4? And we would theoretically be right.
Basically.
I'm going to go with Q Robinson. I'll also give a shout out to Fadil Diggs and Jod Joyner. So those are some day 3, and Savi and Jones from LSU. And this list is so long,
is
I
too
can't
long.
just 4.
This is too long. Yeah, because I was fighting between Ingram Dawkins and Johnny Walker from Missouri. It's a long list.
There are going to be a lot of edges, in my opinion, that are going to fit the profile of what EJ described, and that's if you're looking for an edge that can set, if you're looking for a player that can set the edge in the run game, I think you're going to be able to find a lot of those guys early on day 3, and you may not get 10 sacks out of them, but that's a starting NFL edge who's going to have an 8 to 10 year career playing first and second down. And being a Bills fan, like Shaq Lawson, he made a living setting the edge against the run. He could do that. And you're not going to get a lot of pass rush out of him. But if you earn the right to get to third down and let somebody come in off the bench and rush the passer, that works. That's being a good teammate. But
I checked, by the way, 17 edges for Dane.
Okay.
And right at the bottom of the list, number 100, Braden Swinson from LSU. Throwing shade at my guy.
Yep.
I think
some people have a first round grade on
ranking.
Swinson, and you said he's at the bottom of Dane's list. So
I have him 10 spots higher in my edge rankings than Jack Sawyer, for example.
Yep. But like Savion Jones from LSU, he's an edge that he can set the edge against the run. You're probably going to get him on day 3. Fadil Diggs, again, that's a good prospect, and he's probably going on day 3, but I really like him. But Q Robinson, what I want to point out is, again, this is a guy that hasn't had the best luck, I think is the right way to put it, right? So he played special teams freshman, sophomore, junior year. So you're getting an athlete that can play special teams. This year, he was able to start. He didn't start ahead of Dallas Turner. He didn't start ahead of Chris Broswell, who both played at Alabama. You may have heard of
Will Anderson.
They each went top 64.
And not to mention, he was there when Will Anderson was there too. So he had some guys he had to sit behind.
Yep. So, he was playing behind some really good edges. Okay. Even though Alabama rotates edges a little bit, you maybe expected more from him those first 3 years. But when he did play his senior year, the analytics look really good, right? The challenge is he got hurt. So he has a limited amount of production that you're evaluating. But I think this is going to be an edge that an NFL GM is going to say, I want that in my room. I'll give him a year, give him 2 years, because that's the kind of pedigree that tends to do well, right? 5-star recruit, as long as the medicals check from his most recent injury. So Q Robinson from Alabama.
Designated pass rusher. I think he's going to get in the field early and make some hay because he can win in a few different ways.
Yep. So I'm going to do this one because I don't want somebody to steal my linebacker sleeper. Okay. Sean Dolak from Buffalo at linebacker. So he's in the MAC, so he's in a smaller conference. His athletic testing was through the roof. So everybody expected him to run a certain time, and he beat it by 0.2 of a second. So definitely an athlete. Definitely, I believe he led the nation in tackles. This is a really good linebacker that played at a relatively small school. My opinion is he's going to be drafted, but at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me for him to go UDFA. UB had a really good linebacker last year, and he didn't get drafted either. So, there's a competition level issue there that probably is going to push him down some boards. But Sean Dolak, whoever gets him, is going to be getting a linebacker that's going to make the 53. Whether he's an undrafted free agent or a late round linebacker. Sean Dolak is my sleeper at linebacker. EJ, who is your sleeper at linebacker? I think I know who this is going to be, but
no, I was set to make it Bam Martin Scott, but then I found this other guy, Brandon George from Pitt. He was not invited to the combine, so he just proceeds to go to his pro day, measuring his 6'3", 246, 80-inch wingspan. Ran a 4.65 40 with a 1.59 10-yard split and a 42-inch vertical and a 10'8" broad jump. So that would have put him put him close to the top with all the other linebackers at the combine. So I popped on the tape and see why wasn't this guy, why is this guy a sleeper? He plays a pure Mike linebacker. He's not like when you look at the other top linebackers, you see them, they can play as a true stack linebacker and they offer you some pass rush ability as well. That's where Brandon George falls short. He doesn't offer you much in the pass rush department. He's just a pure stack linebacker. They played him as a true Mike, and his athleticism shows. It's just that he's not explosive. You see the 4.6 speed, but it's build up speed. It's not explosive speed. So it takes him about 2 or 3 steps to get up to top speed instead of 1-2 step and he's gone. His instincts are solid. When you watch him, you can see him reading his keys. His keys are the guards. And right after you read your keys, you locate the football. I think that's where he excels at. He knows how to locate the football. Misdirection is not going to get him a whole lot. He's an active running chase. If you need him to spot a quarterback, he can do that. I watched him against, what was it? I think it was Clemson, and he just made plays all over the field. He's a guy that just makes plays. I doubt if he gets drafted, but I believe highly that he will make a 53. So he's a guy that you're gonna bring him in and you're gonna just tell him to make my team, and he's gonna make your team. He may start off on special teams, but he's gonna make the team. He's gonna be a backup linebacker. He's just gonna climb the ladder on that depth chart, and within 3 or 4 years, he may even be a starter.
And which Pitt? You said that was a Pitt linebacker?
Yep, Pitt, Brandon George.
Cool. Halil, who is your sleeper linebacker?
First name today, you mentioned that I haven't watched it. Feel kind of defeated, but I'm gonna get to him still. So my guy here is Kareem Reed from Utah. Slightly undersized, maybe not by today's standards as much anymore, but 6 foot, 230 pounds. He was the guy playing alongside Len Barton, who most people consider more of a traditional Mike linebacker that you would talk about, a little bit bigger, but watching those two guys right next to each other, I always thought Reed was the better player as for now. Just plays the position with great instincts and diagnosing skills. Kind of rare for a college player to already be that advanced at times with the quick trigger downhill, meets pullers and lead blockers behind the line of scrimmage a lot of times to really force the action. Like a length that you do see with times where he gets gloved up by bigger bodies and has a tough time discarding from them, but I thought in general really sound, flowing with the play and getting to the ball, and just an ability to play a little under blocks as well at times, to where he doesn't get washed out of the lane, but is able to hold his grounds. And what really stands about Reed for me is his coverage. Just really understands where his landmarks are to read the quarterback's eyes. Excellent feel for targets around him, and really always looking for work where he can have the peripheral vision, where targets are coming in on him, and where he can disrupt the catch point from nearby receivers, and also offers a little bit as a pass rusher at times, little surface area that he presents there, playing low on the blocks as well, and creating heat in the quarterback. So I thought just a well-rounded skill set. He's not going to be starting linebacker from day one, but someone who can play the well at the next level, contribute on special teams early on to earn that role, and see some part in the rotation. And I think eventually has the potential to get to that starting level, although as a really solid number 3 probably for a team to carry.
So, EJ, you have a sleeper in the defensive backfield you want to talk about?
Yeah, we'll start with cornerback. It's the other guy. Everybody knows Azare Thomas, but the other guy, Fentrell Cypress, he played the other cornerback position. This is a guy 6 foot, 6 foot even, 182, a little bit on the smaller side as far as weight is concerned. 31-inch arms. Ran a 4.43 40, had a 1.54 10-yard split, 38-inch vertical, 10-foot broad jump, and a sub-7 3-cone. 3-cone is your change of direction. So we know he's got straight line speed and he has change of direction. They played a lot of man coverage in Florida State, and I think he can hold his own in man coverage. It's just that he's not – when you look at Thomas and you look at him, Thomas is supremely confident in his footwork in man coverage. He knows exactly what he's doing. That's not the case with Fentrell Cypress. He's a guy that you're gonna he's gonna need some time. He's gonna need some time to develop. He transferred from Virginia over to Florida State. He's gonna need some time. He's a guy. He's an athlete. So you bet on the traits. You get him in your room, and then you just teach him the rules of your defense. Once he gets the rules of your defense down, then you'll see his athletic traits come out. I think he's a guy that you can probably give a try inside as a slot cornerback, or if you want to keep him outside and let him develop there as an outside cornerback. But mainly, he's an athlete in the room. If you want to raise the competition level in your room, or if you want to developmental cornerback, he's your guy.
Cool. Halil, do you have a corner that you like as a sleeper?
Yeah, so I like Bilal Cohn from Western Michigan. Someone that's 6'1", 190 pounds, tall boundary corner with light feet and great confidence playing the position. He's low in his stance to mirror and match releases and impatient with not committing his hips too early, yet then kind of smooth for the tight end transitions. Plays the eyes of the wideouts to look back himself and locate the ball when he is in the hip pocket of those guys down the field. Paces with good body control and feel for altering speeds when he's in off-zone coverage. Does a great job of using leverage wall off receivers. And I think he chooses angles and kind of maximizes his length to challenge the catch point very well. And then on runs out to the perimeter screens, that ability to redirect forward out of his pedal, you can really see that. And also not looking uncomfortable when he has to attach closer to the formation, those unbalanced sets and meeting runners in the COD gap. You did see him line up and soft press quite a bit, but not really be asked to jam receivers at the line, really be disruptive in the way to get into the routes. You see some false steps at times trying to redirect forward out of his pedal in off zone, and definitely has some improvements to do in terms of taking on blocks and actually utilizing his length to drag to not always only drag down tacklers, or rather be a drag down tackler. You see that a bit too much, but I think he's an interesting boundary corner option to develop there in a class that doesn't really have many of those guys necessarily. A lot more slots and those field side corners that I consider, but I think he can play the gap boundary potentially if you give him some time to develop.
Okay, so sleepers at corner, I'm kind of going through my list a little bit. So Cohn's a good shout out. I know that there's a few draft professors that say that he's going on day 2.
I could see it.
Yeah, there's more than a few people that like him. But one of the things I learned with evaluating corners, and Sam Teets, I see you in the chat. So we did a corner episode where there were 4 different corner boards, and each of the corner boards had 3 different guys in the top 15. So if you look, that means that there were 12 corners where all these people that I respect are saying these are all probably, the 15 corners that go on day 1 and 2. But 12 of them were unique. Right? So those are the guys that are going to be if they're still on the board, if Amello Dotson is on the board in round 4, he's probably the best corner. If Cohn is on the board in round 4, best corner. So I'm going to try to go a little bit deeper down the board. Jalen Smith from USC, I think, is a corner that's not getting talked about enough. And then the one guy I really want to point out is Kendall Bowler from Alabama A&M. So he's an HBCU player. So again, doesn't get a lot of the publicity that you get if you go to a Power 4 school. But Kendall Bowler from Alabama A&M, probably getting drafted. It will be late. This is a guy that is going to earn everything he gets. He is going to outwork everybody in your cornerback room. So I will shout out Kendall Bowler from Alabama A&M. So, Halil, I think the last position we have to do is safety, right?
Yeah, we made it through the list.
Yeah.
We're working at a good pace there.
We on time, too.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm not going to waste any more time and talk a little bit about Keandre Jackson from Illinois State. Kind of a deep cut. I looked earlier on the consensus board. He's outside the top 400. So a guy, not 100% sure if he's getting drafted, but had a really strong Senior Bowl weeks, and I think that kind of props up his name. 6'2", 210 pounds. I really like the way he steps down against the run with good vision and balance to him. Uses hands proactively, defend off blockers, close to the line of scrimmage, and they can really lay the wooden running backs in the hole when he's deployed in the box. It's also pretty reliable as a tackler. So you see some big hits, but also not really just throwing a shoulder and then missing tackles. I think as a deep half defender, shows high football IQ to digest route combinations. Does an outstanding job of working, playing over the top, then closing and contesting the catch point with great timing and feel for spacing. I think he does well in general to identify formations and offensive tendencies. Like I already said, had that tremendous Senior Bowl week where you saw him short of physicality, battle tight ends, and hang with them down the field. And he's super competitive at the catch point, where even if guys kind of have secured targets already, he just swipes through the hands and is getting able to get those leading completions to force those. You see him get outflanked by runners at times when they bounce out wide, lacks that high recovery speed, I would say. And where if he's out of the phase or that initial angle pursuit is a little bit off, that he can't quite get there. But also kind of when he has to play with it back to the quarterback, doesn't look overly comfortable having to flip and run with guys where he has to locate the ball on the field. But I think there's definitely something there in terms of this modern split safety worlds where he can really see the action attack forwards. I like him a lot.
Okay. And EJ, do you have a sleeper at safety?
Yeah. I think I cheated a little bit because I fully believe this guy's going to go on day 3. I mean, not day 3, day 2. But Jonas Sanker from Virginia.
My guy.
Yeah. Like when you talk about the safety position, it's Nick and Man Worry, it's Malachi Starks, and the rest of the guys. I think Jonas Sanker can play. I like him as like he's a guy 6 foot over 200 pounds. Runs a 4.4. I like him in 2 high safety looks where he's able to come down as a robber, because he breaks on the crossing routes, on the underneath routes very well. He's physical. He's a tackler. He comes in hot sometimes, so sometimes he's going to whiff on the tackles. But I like the effort. I'd rather tell a guy to tone it down instead of telling a guy to tone it up. He is a physical tackler. He's a physical player. The reason why he's probably not being talked about like the rest of these top guys is he doesn't have much ball production, doesn't have much ball skills. He's not a guy that's going to be a ball hawk back there, but he's a guy that's going to be assignment sound. He's a guy that's going to be a factor in your run game. And he's a guy that has some versatility to him too, because at Virginia they kicked him out into the slot, and he was able to cover some tight ends and some wide receivers out of the slot. Now he needs work on his footwork. If he's going to be a nickel defender, he needs to work on his footwork a little bit, work on his back pedal. But the talent is there. The baseline prototype for a safety is there, and like the rest of these day 3 guys or later round guys, they can come in and play special teams immediately, and then they just need to grow in their role as a position player.
I've got him as my number 6 safety, I believe. So I absolutely love him.
Yeah.
I've got my safety rankings coming out in a couple of days, and he's been way up there.
Yeah, I'm like, why is nobody talking about this guy? This guy can play.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with a sleeper at safety. And if anybody that has followed the station for 6 months knows this was the first player that ever came on the Draft Professor for an interview. And that's Andreas Keaton from Temple.
Oh.
So he had a really good pro day. He made himself some money at his pro day. He tested really well athletically. The tape shows you a player that can tackle. The tape will also show you the potential for him to play single high looks. So he does, right? So there's a lot of safeties that went to Power 4 schools.
Mm-hmm.
And, let's take like a Jalen Reed. Jalen Reed from Penn State is going to be drafted really high, but you're probably not going to put Jalen Reed as a single high.
No.
Whereas Andreas Keaton, you're going to be able to get him probably at the back of the draft, right? Around 6'7", UDFA.
Mm-hmm.
But there's enough there for Keaton that if you get him in your room, bring him in as a safety 4, once he learns your defense, you're going to have a significant asset, and the athletic testing warrants him being drafted. So definitely want to shout out to Andreas Keaton. So, obviously, thank you for coming on the station. But in addition to that, congratulations on having a really good pro day. So Halil, do you want to introduce yourself to our fine audience and let them know how they can find you?
Yeah, I was on last week already, so I'm just going to repeat that a little bit. HalilsWithFootballTalk.com. You can find all of my positional rankings. I'm finishing up with the safeties and the quarterbacks next week, and then I'm going to be putting up my big boards and my final mock draft. Also on YouTube, same name, Halil's with Football Talk. You can find I have a video on my guys where I talk about Jonas Sanker and some other guys discussed today. And you can find me on at Halil's with Football Talk on Instagram, and then on Twitter or Blue Sky at Halil's FB Talk. I'm going to be tagging this video onto my channel. And so right now, deep into draft season, but I cover the NFL all year round, do a bunch of all 22 analysis as the NFL allows it to, kind of a bit of a tougher time with the college football at times, what they allow you to put out there. But check it out. And thanks again for having me on. It was a fun little discussion about some sleepers.
Thank you. Well, Halil, if the audience doesn't know, Halil is in Austria. So it is 8 p.m. Eastern right now. For Halil, that's like 2 a.m. So EJ, you might become famous in Europe because he's going to be like playing this over in Europe. But,
awesome. I'm all for it.
You want to introduce yourself to a brand new continent.
Yes. Hello. My name is EJ. Pretty much a tape grinder, film junkie. You can catch me on X. I'll be posting film breakdowns of all these players. Actually, right after the show, I got film breakdowns of all these sleepers we're talking about, so you can see what I see. I am also a writer. I do draft breakdowns for the Rogue Analytics draft guide. But pretty much what you see is what you get. You get no fluff, no hot takes, just raw film analysis and opinions. And give me a follow on X, and if you into that type of stuff.
Cool. So you can follow the station at NFL Draft Fanatic. No, I am Fanatic. It is the same on X and YouTube. We have daily draft content. This is our first podcast today. Right after this, Bill Randall and I are going to be going through the scouting reports for all the wide receivers that the Buffalo Bills have met with. And a couple of the sleepers we mentioned here, I think, are going to be covered on the next podcast too. So it's actually interesting with some of the guys that you guys were pointing out. It's like, oh, wow, we're covering them. We're covering them in an hour. So daily draft content that comes in all shapes and sizes. We have Epic Mock 25 this week. So it is the biggest internet mock draft in existence. We have 32 people from all over the world because Halil is going to be drafting in it. He's in Europe. We have at least, I think, one other person from Europe participating, and the rest of everybody is scattered throughout the US of A and Canada. But we're going to be mock drafting against each other, 257 picks. There's going to be 18 hours of mock draft podcast where in 18 hours, they're going to talk about 257 players. So there needs to be significant talent. Like the channel cannot do this without people like EJ and Halil who can talk about every player that is likely going to be drafted. So I'm humbled that you guys are part of the station. Thank you. And I am looking forward to Epic Mock 25, which starts at 6:15 p.m. tomorrow night. So today's Wednesday. It starts on Thursday. Round 1 begins 6:15 p.m. Eastern. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock. For the 52 podcasters at the Draft Professor, for EJ, for Halil, for everybody in the chat, I saw Bill Sparks, I saw Sam Teets. Thank you for stopping by, everybody. We'll see you on a podcast again in a few minutes. Thank you.